All right. So this is Mark Adams. I'm at the Truman Library Museum, but of course I'm at home, and I am live at 2 o'clock Central Time, talking to you about my favorite painting, my favorite artifact at the Truman Library and Museum. But before I do that, I just wanted to thank all of the collaboration for today. 24 museums live on the internet, all on the same day, all from Kansas City area, from Lawrence to Independence to Kansas City, and all points in between. My friends at the Atkins Johnson Farm, my friends at the Money Museum, Jazz Museum, all the others, I'm going to miss some. They're just amazing collaborative. We've kind of developed this unified ecosystem of museums over the last month, putting this together. And I'm really excited to share my favorite artifact at the Truman Museum in Independence. And of course, we're closed right now anyway, due to renovation. But in the fall, when we reopen, this painting will be one of the things that's on display with our reopened museum in the fall of 2020. So with that, I'm going to go to my PowerPoint. I'm going to share a picture of you, and I want you to comment in the chat box on YouTube. So I'm going to be asking you some questions. So when my colleague Helen allows me to share the screen, I will show you this amazing painting and be ready to ask questions or answer my questions this afternoon. And I'm disabled, Helen. Still. Let's see what happens. No. Technical live issues, live on YouTube. I just want to try and share my screen, and it says it's disabled. Now this is where I could do a song and dance while I wait for my share screen. I do have a special guest with me today, Harry Truman, who's going to help me with our presentation. So, still disabled. I'm not sure what the issue is. We're not able to share our screen at the moment. But Harry is ready. We're going to be talking about the famous painting by Norman Rockwell, Family Squabble. And let me give you some background about that before we look at the painting. It was donated to President Truman in 1950 by the National Council to Combat Blindness. Norman Rockwell had given the painting to that group, and they gave it to Truman because he had done some legislation to help with neurological disease and blindness. Let's try our screen again. And here we go. It's going to work live. And there we go. Now you can see our painting, and the title of the presentation is How Does One Painting Inform Us About an Historical Event? So as we get going, I see comments coming in, which is great. There is a bit of a lag because we're live via Zoom and via YouTube at the same time. But we're going to do our best to answer your questions. And our overall question for today is, how does one painting inform us about an historical event? And of course, we're looking at Norman Rockwell's Family Squabble, which currently is in Omaha receiving conservation treatment. And the Stern Foundation for the Arts is actually paying and helping us pay for the conservation treatment of this painting that will be displayed in the Truman Library Museum in the fall. So our first question, let me get ready. You ready? I want you to type in the box. Type one thing that you notice in this painting. So this is live. I'm right here with you. And my friend Kate Sutter, who's in Lebanon, is asking, can we raffle off the puppet Harry to the viewers? This Harry is not up for raffle, but let me think about that. We could do that, couldn't we? So Kate's a teacher in Lebanon, Missouri, and I'm glad she's joining us. She helped create some of the educational activities to go with this painting today. So what can you see in this painting? Type one thing that you notice, and then put that in the chat box. And then if you don't come up with anything, Harry's going to notice some things. So Harry's noticed the toaster. One of the things we have in our Truman Library photograph collection, as Truman as senator making toast. It's hanging in the hallway of the Truman Library. So Angela says the baby is crying. Yeah, the baby's under the table crying. And Elizabeth says they both have different newspapers. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Money Museum. And I should have put my reading glasses on. The shiny red shoes the lady is wearing under the table. Well spotted. But the shiny red shoes, I think that's Karen. What else do you notice? So, Elizabeth, you notice the newspapers. Can anybody tell who is on the front page of those newspapers? Kate says the mom is not backing down. I like that, Kate. She's not backing down. She's standing up to this guy. Shiny red shoes, baby crying. Mom's not backing down. They both have newspapers. Keep the comments coming. We are live. There is a dog and a cat, and the dog seems engaged, and the cat's not so much. I have dogs and cats in my house, and that's pretty much how they are. The cat lays around, the dog barks at everything. We have a Chihuahua, so that makes sense, right? Angela says that's Harry Truman on the newspaper on the right, the lady is holding. And Jay says Dewey and Truman. I'm going to guess that's Jay Mehta, former National History Day gold medal winner. I'm just guessing, but I think I'm right. I'm going to call people out today. Emily says Truman, and you guys are right. We've got Truman on one side, and we have Dewey on the left. The gentleman is pointing at Dewey's mustache. Funny story about Dewey. He was often described as the man on the top of the wedding cake. Kind of that was the symbolism for him. And then you have the woman who's standing up. Wonderful design of the chairs, says Whitney. Sorry, I need to blow up the text on this screen. No reading glasses today. What else do you see on this amazing painting by Norman Rockwell? Anything else you can see? I'm going to go to my next activity. We can maybe wait for a couple more comments. You've noticed the baby crying. You've noticed the two candidates. And we're talking about the 1948 election. So let's move on. So, two-sided question. You can answer either one. What does it tell us about an historic event? But also, what does it not tell us about a historic event? Remember, our essential question is how can one painting inform us about an historic event? It's going to tell us some things. There's other things it's not going to tell us. So what can it tell us, or what can it not tell us? Again, type it in the box. We are live. I'll respond to your comments, and don't be shy. I see we have about 18 people watching. About half a dozen have commented. Just open up that chat feature and type in your comments. What does it tell us? What does it not tell us? My buddy Harry is going to tell us. He's whispering to me. What it doesn't tell us, Harry, what it doesn't tell us is who wins. Ah, Harry got that one. Doesn't tell us who actually wins the election. So maybe this is from before the election, Harry. But he's got his newspaper. He's pretty excited. Conflict, says Karen. Certainly conflict even between a family. We're going to presume a house divided, says Whitney. And why is the baby crying, says our host, probably Helen. And then Kate says, two people in the news are causing conflict and emotion, but we don't know how it was resolved. So yeah, two people in the news because they're on the newspapers. They're arguing about them, but we don't know how it was resolved. Good. So Kate covered both what it does tell us and what it doesn't. Harry is a smart guy, says Emily. Well, thank you for that. Harry knows his history. That's one of his, history is Harry's favorite subject, and he's going to give some more answers here in a minute. So they're arguing, they're telling us, they're arguing about two people in the news. The cat is unimpressed, says Jay. I think you're right about the cat. He really is not impressed at all. And there's a bird up there too. Harry should know, says Kate. So of course we know with context, this is about the 1948 election. Everyone seems upset, says Angela. That's right. Everyone, the baby's crying, the man's yelling, the lady's kind of pouting. We don't know who is for which candidate. Well, we know that the man seems to be for the Dewey and the lady seems to be for Harry, but yes, we don't know what happens. And then Julie from Lawrence from the Dole Center, who did a great presentation about archives earlier, says, we don't know if they're a happily married couple or not. Maybe they have other problems they argue about often. So that's what we call inference, right? We look at sources and we infer things. Julie did a great job there, inferring. Maybe they got other things going on. All I noticed, because I'm always hungry, nobody's eating the toast. The toast has popped up, and I don't like cold toast. I like hot toast, and that butter melting on there. But everyone's ignoring the toast, and everyone's ignoring the bird in the cage at the top as well. So what else can we tell from this? We don't know who wins the election. I've kind of given away. It's about the 1948 election, right? Dewey versus Truman. We've got our clue here with Harry, because we do know who wins eventually. He's still cheering about that, okay? So we're going to go on to our next one. And this is our last one in terms of questions. And you guys are doing a great job with your comments and questions. So this one is about what they might be saying or what they might be thinking. So emotions. So you can break down pieces of art, photographs, political cartoons, break down the characters. And for some fun, we've included one of the animals here too. So what might a speaker be thinking, or what might they be saying? What would this conversation look like? You can recreate that as an activity with your family, with your students if you're a teacher, or if your students tuning in, you could do that too. So you can answer that. You could just put A, and what they might be saying, B, what they might be saying, C, and then D, and then write me a sentence. And then we'll wrap these things up. It's amazing painting that you can really delve into. You can see Norman Rockwell's name on the bottom. As I mentioned at the beginning, Norman Rockwell actually donated this painting to the National Council to Combat Blindness. That's who he gave it to. But in September 1950, the Blindness Council gave it to Truman because he had just signed a bill creating the National Institute for Neurological Diseases and Blindness, which is really lucky that we have this original painting. As I mentioned, it's in Omaha right now, receiving conservation treatment due to the generous funding from the Robert J. Stern Foundation for the Arts. And they're also paying for some conservation work on another of our paintings that will be featured in our renovated museum at the beach of Scheveningen by Henrik Manstack. So we have a few comments. D, they're thinking, I want the toast. So they're thinking the dog might eat the toast. My cat would eat the toast. Julie says, A, why can't she understand? C, why can't they stop arguing? And D, I hope she doesn't step on me with those red heels. That's true. And D is, Dad is loud, I'm staying over here. So the dog is kind of hiding under Mom there, it looks like. You guys are amazing. And of course, you could keep going with this. To finish up, what a great day this has been, this collaborative effort with 24 museums. We hope you appreciate it. We've got a ton of resources associated with this painting, a lesson plan that Kate is online created. And we also have document analysis sheets that you can look at artwork and posters, online documents related to the 1948 election, photographs relating to the 1948 election, about 800 of them digitized and online. And recently we put on our Truman Library YouTube page color footage, about an hour long, of the 1948 election campaign when Truman heads out west. You can see him fishing, you can see him at the Cooley Dam, campaigns in Seattle and on the West Coast. Really amazing video. Couple more questions. Speaker B is the woman, if the video is blocking that, so I apologize. I'm going to stop sharing, come back to my video, Any final questions, you can type them in there and I'll stay online for a few minutes too. But thank you for your participation. We hope that you will come and see that Norman Rockwell painting on our renovated museum when we reopen in the fall. Our construction plans are going well despite our current situation. And we've got some comments. Kate has said this could be used to help students learn to argue effectively if it's not modeled in their own home, right? So you could use this, what would be a better way to have this dialogue about two characters? And of course, our essential question was, can one piece of artwork inform us about historical events? So it certainly gives us information, but we need to add it to other sources, those photographs, the newsreel, those other sources that I mentioned. And today, when you see a piece of artwork, a tweet, a newspaper headline, a primary source of any kind, as we think about COVID-19, you need to add to those sources. So that's what we can learn from that, is you don't want to take one source on its merit, verify its authenticity, who the author is, recognize the bias, and add other sources to it so you get different perspectives before you come to a judgment. So that is the end of my presentation. Enjoy the rest of Virtual Museum KC. Thank you to all my collaborators. I've been working in museums 29 years, and this is the most effective collaboration I have ever seen. It's incredible. So enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you from Truman Library, and thank you from